ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help. The following program is brought to you by Arlington Community Media, where we tell your story.
This is ACMi News, recognized nationwide as the first place winner of the 2023 Hometown Media Award for News Access.
The Select Board considers plans to remove a dozen trees near Stratton Elementary School to make things safer for students, staff, and nearby residents. But those plans also include replacing those trees that may have to come down in the near future. We have an update. There is a new eatery in town at the corner of Mass and Park Avenues with a whole new bill of fare to satisfy every craving that you can think of. The new owners encourage you to come on in and give Fiesta Bites a try. And now that we're in the thick of the 2024-25 pro football season, we reprise a story about the origins of the NFL. Which man had the bright idea to take a gamble on a sport that was dwarfed by baseball more than a century ago? You'll meet her next. ACMi News starts right now.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered, giving you stories that count from people who care. Reliable, trustworthy, dependable. This is the nationwide award-winning ACMi News. Now that the new school year in Arlington is well underway, it was time to meet some of the new school leaders who will be heading up the 2024-2025 school year. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of ACMi News. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm James Milan. So glad you could join us today. The Arlington School Committee on September 12th met several new school leaders. And they got an update from Superintendent Elizabeth Homan, which included a report on roughly 50 new teachers added to Arlington's public school teaching roster.
Dr. Homan said new teachers spent a few days this month learning about culturally responsive practices, building community networks, and developing curriculum research and resources. Here are just a few of the new school leaders taking us into the new school year.
I've had a wonderful welcome from faculty at all the 10 schools, and I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to be in the buildings and getting to meet the different administrators, teachers, children, students, and so it's been a great beginning for me.
I've moved from interim to the permanent role, and one of the things that I've really enjoyed about working in this role, coming from the classroom in Arlington, is being able to work both with teachers and administrators, but also to be able to start to get into the other schools and see what happens outside of high school. What's life like for a student in middle school, and then really get in and dig into what's happening in the elementary school. So it's been really exciting to see that wider lens of what our students are doing and their journey from K through 12.
I can say that this has been an exciting start to the school year. So from the hugs, the kids running over to me, to being able to greet the high schoolers in the morning, the Gibsters, the Trailblazers, I should say, OMS. I've been at the different elementary schools, and it's just been really exciting to see the smiles on the kids' faces, just to see how excited they are to be back in the classroom, to be in a new grade, starting out, their new journey. And it has been extremely exciting to see the growth that they've had over the summer.
It has been a very exciting first 6 weeks of employment with Arlington, working with the facility folks on the operations side and meeting everyone in the district, meeting the principals. It's a great team here, great teachers, and probably the most exciting thing was closing out FY24. So yes. More on that to come.
But I just want to say this is a really dynamic group of leaders. You're all doing a spectacular job. The beginning of the school year is always a big lift, and it's been wonderful to work with all of them.
You can meet all the new school leaders and learn about some policy matters that were brought up at the September 12th meeting. ACMi had you covered. Just go to our website, acmi.tv. Again, that's acmi.tv.
The Town Select Board has approved tree removals around Stratton Elementary School in order to create a safe walking route for Stratton students and bring the area up to date. The board gave the green light on September 9th to a plan to remove a dozen public shade trees and replace them with 16 trees. It's all part of the Stratton Elementary School Safe Routes to School project. This project is based on a 2019 grant that the town received from the state. Its purpose is to create a safe and accessible walking route to Stratton for students, staff, and parents alike. Transportation engineering consultant Amy Archer told the board via Zoom that after months of careful study, the number of trees to be removed was kept to a bare minimum.
The project is a Safe Routes to School project for the Stratton Elementary School positioned along Mountain Avenue. The project lengths extend starting almost right from the front entrance of the school, a couple hundred feet along Wheeler Lane, a couple hundred feet along Mountain Avenue down to Dixon, almost 600 feet along Dixon Avenue from Mountain Avenue to Hemlock Street, and then southerly along Hemlock Street, about a quarter of a mile from Dixon Ave to Brattle Street. So the intent of the project is to make sure that the network is expanded to connect all the way to the front entrance of the school along Mountain Avenue, and to make sure that all components of that network are up to ADA compliance, meeting the width requirements, the slope requirements, and having accessible pedestrian ramps along the route. So as we advance the project, we are proposing, as I mentioned, ADA compliant sidewalks along the entirety of Hemlock Street, the west side in its entirety, the east side mimicking the extents that have sidewalk today. We're adding sidewalk to Dixon, and we're adding sidewalk to Mountain. In order to do so, we do have to impact some public shade trees. We had 3 site walks with MassDOT attendees, PART attendees, and the tree warden from the town to try to discuss which trees we felt were in good health and we should try to save, different measures that we could try to put in place to save those, and which ones had to be impacted based on the project. So we really did try to go through and spare what we could, only impact what we had to. You can see along Mountain Avenue an extension of the sidewalk on Wheeler Lane to connect a piece that isn't there today. And then the addition of sidewalk on Dixon does hit a handful of trees right in that area. So we are adding sidewalk where it doesn't exist today in order to complete this network to the school. There's pretty steep embankment on the properties, so the addition of the sidewalk requires some regrading at the back of the sidewalk. So in the areas that we're looking at here, if there's a tree indicated with the red dot, that's an existing tree that we either need to remove as part of the project, or we are going to remove and transplant. There were 2 trees that, as we talked this through with the tree warden, were still young enough in their life that we feel confident we can extract the root ball, reposition them to the back of the new proposed sidewalk, and those trees will still grow very healthy the way they have been over the last, I believe it's only been a year or 2 since they were planted in these 2 locations.
This board hearing was only to approve tree removals as part of the project, town leaders say. Once the State Department of Transportation completes the plan, the town will in the near future notify each property owner who's affected by the project. There are a few events on the horizon that will celebrate Arlington's commitment to sustainability and conservation. Arlington Nature's Framework is one such event, and you are invited to take part. It's an opportunity for you to become a bona fide naturalist. You'll be able to identify plants, fungi, bugs, and other creatures. I spoke to DPC Director Claire Ricker recently, and she told me this particular event is being hosted by Tufts University as part of Arlington's Nature Futures Framework initiative.
Arlington Nature Futures Framework. So Arlington has partnered with Tufts University on an initiative to develop a blueprint for cities and towns to harmonize the needs of nature and people, setting a precedent for local efforts worldwide. So the goal of this project is to better understand the human-nature relationship that residents of Arlington value in order to provide strategies for future design and programming to the community. Understanding the value that Arlington residents place on their local green spaces and other places where human and nature interactions occur will help us create improvements that benefit and intertwine the community and nature more closely. The first step is for residents to take the survey on environmental priorities and values. We are also holding a Wild Wonder event on September 29th in Menotomy Rocks Park. Participants will use the iNaturalist app to identify plants, fungi, bugs, and other critters. So come get to know your natural neighbors.
A fun event for all of us to take part in before the winter months force us inside. Get caught up on all these events and more by going to the town website, arlingtonma.gov/planning. Again, that's arlingtonma.gov/planning.
Are you a frequent viewer of Chicago PD, Blue Bloods, or Dragnet? Enough of the fiction. Do you want to see how a real police operation works instead? If you live or work in the town of Arlington and are 18 years or older, Arlington's police department is staging an 8-week-long community police academy. It's a free opportunity to interact and learn more about the Arlington Police Department through classroom experiences and in-the-field activities. To learn more about things like the history of the APD, canine training, and crime scene investigations. The next session for this 8-week course begins Thursday, September 26th from 6 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. And it will be held inside the community room on the second floor of the Arlington Police Department at 112 Mystic Street. You have to fill out an application and return it to the records department on the second floor. Or you can email it at policerecords@town.arlington.ma.us. Again, that's policerecords@town.arlington.ma.us. Applications must be received by 12 p.m. Monday, September 16th to be considered for this session. There's a new eatery in town that will satisfy your pizza craving and so much more. It's called Fiesta Bites, and you'll find it at 1323 Mass Ave, right on the corner. ACMi News Director Jeff Barnes paid a visit to Fiesta Bites earlier this week, and the owners tell us to tell you to check them out.
Fiesta Bites is now open for business, and it's guaranteed to temper your hunger pangs with a scrumptious touch of the Italian and Spanish. This restaurant opened up earlier this month, and the owners tell us they are ready to serve you with whatever suits your taste on any given day.
We have some different items like pizza, pasta, subs, salads, and a little bit of everything for everybody on the family. We also do catering, pretty much a little bit of everything, and we just try to give you a better quality food.
Co-owner Asael Sanchez tells us when a new eatery opens, customers are naturally curious, and that all you have to do is pick up the phone. They'll take care of the rest.
You can order through Slice, Uber Eats, or Grab, or some of those new companies, and you can also call at the phone number. It's 781-777-2770.
Now, with a brand new restaurant and a vast menu with delicious food, the owners here say you may have some questions, and they are willing to answer each and every question you may have. For instance, I just asked them, why does round pizza come in a square box and then you eat it by the triangle? They even have a solution for that, and it comes from the beautiful Italian island of Sicily.
We decided to go with the Sicilian pizza because I did a little bit of search around people, what would they like to eat, and I got a couple of feedback that they say they don't have a really Sicilian pizza around here. So we decided to put a Sicilian pizza on our menu for now and then see if that works well for the community.
Asael says the Fiesta Bites website is nearly complete, so you can check out their vast menu, square, round, or triangular, at any time.
But for the moment, we just want to make sure everybody's happy, they like our food, and enjoy being here.
When it comes to fresh and delicious food, Asael and his coworker Eduardo have decades of experience behind them, and they know what's good. They are firm believers that the recipe by itself has no soul, but they, as the master cooks, are responsible for breathing life into that recipe.
And feel as a family.
Fiesta Bites website is now up and running, and they are now open for business full-time. As a matter of fact, Fiesta Bites is supplying the ACMi crew as we cover Town Day live. We've already sampled the Fiesta Bites menu, and we give it 5 stars.
On Monday, September 6th, the Menotomy Concert Series kicked off its new 2024-2025 season of free concerts at Town Hall Auditorium, and ACMi was there. Music lovers were treated to the majestic sounds of the Lowell Chamber Orchestra featuring conductor Orlando Sella with music from all over the world, including Violin Concerto No. 3 in G major by none other than Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And this outro is for all you Amadeus fans out there, just like Jeff Barnes and myself. Too many notes? What the heck did Emperor Joseph II know anyway? Salieri was right. Actually, the man had no ear at all. Get more information on the Menotomy Concert Series by going to artsarlington.org. Again, that's artsarlington.org.
We are now in the thick of autumn, and for the rest of this year at least, New England football fans will have their fingers crossed for the Patriots.
The National Football League is now more than 100 years old, and it has grown from humble beginnings to a multi-billion-dollar business worldwide.
It had to start somewhere, and that was with Bert Bell, arguably one of the greatest and most influential NFL commissioners ever. But it took a forward-thinking woman to convince Bert Bell that the NFL was indeed the future, and to choose the path that would eventually make this professional sport the #1 game in America.
Here's a reprise of a story ACMi News produced with Upton Bell, the former GM of the New England Patriots, and Bert Bell's son. But it was Frances Bell, Upton's mother, who worked behind the scenes to make it all happen.
Nearly 100 years ago, professional football was a chaotic freak show. The sport was born out of the hardscrabble factory yards and streets of America and played by strapping young men from late summer cornfields, colleges, and smog-choked inner cities. It stood absolutely no chance against baseball, America's beloved pastime.
Is in 1903, this was built as the first concrete stadium in America.
But if you spend some time with Upton Bell, the 1971 New England Patriots general manager, he'll tell you NFL football sprung forth from a most unlikely place, the fragrant and refined perfume countertops of Macy's department store in New York City, where his mother, Frances Upton Bell, worked part-time.
She was working there one day, and an agent for the Schubert Theaters came to her and said, "You're an absolutely beautiful young woman. What do you do?" She said, "Well, I'm in high school and I'm taking ballet lessons." He said, "Here's my card." And he said, "If you're ever interested, let me know." She followed up 5 years later. She was a star on Broadway.
I only make 20. Oh, listen, Marmaduke, it can't be done.
Hey, what's the idea? Talking to a dummy, you dummy. The next thing you know, you'll be talking to yourself and walking into telegraph poles. You know that, don't you?
All right, get out of here, will you?
Frances Bell would become one of Broadway's leading performers, starring with the likes of Eddie Cantor, Fanny Brice, and Bob Hope. She starred in the Ziegfeld Follies in the Roaring Twenties, and many times caught the eye of scores of admirers, many of whom would shower dancers with gifts of jewelry and flowers in the late-night dressing rooms and smoke-filled hallways of jazz-age theater. One persistent suitor was D. Benneville Burt Bell, a man who would help make the NFL the premier multi-billion-dollar juggernaut it has become. But Upton says the NFL probably would not even exist today if it was not for his mother.
He said, honey, I want to date you. She said, have another drink. I'm not for you. He then chased her for 2 years around the country. So basically, she said, I don't date drunks and social drunks. So he arranged for a party in Miami, or in Atlantic City, called her with all these people around and said, honey, I've got all my friends around here. What'll it take to get you? And she said, never drinking again, thinking, this bum isn't going to be able to do this. He said, I promise you in front of all my friends I will never have a drink again. And he never did. And I think that kind of convinced her.
Burt was living the dream. With his girl by his side, he set his sights on a career in college football. But after performing to sellout crowds nationwide, Frances had other plans.
Being on the road, Chicago, New York, all over the country, she started to see all the barnstorming teams. You had the Chicago Bears with Red Grange. They took a barnstorming team around the country. She said, my father, why are you paying any attention to college football? The pro game is it. So she took him to his first pro game and said, you got to really get with it. So what happened was eventually they got secretly married. Walter Winchell announced it and said that they had been secretly married when she was in Chicago. She came to Philadelphia. On their wedding day, they walked down to the bankruptcy court in Philadelphia. The Frankfurt Yellow Jackets were up for sale. They got them out of bankruptcy. Walking back, they see the Delano Roosevelt National Recovery Act, and there was a big eagle up there. This is how things really happen in life. Not all this phony crap you get today. So up there is the eagle, and he said to her, there it is. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's how it happened.
So your father essentially bought the Philadelphia Eagles with your mom's money for $2,500.
Yes, Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, and then took them out of bankruptcy, renamed them. But the best part of the story is I tell all honeymooners today that like to appear on NBC and go off to Hawaii somewhere. They decided their honeymoon would be in Ventnor, which is right next to Atlantic City. Plenty of money there. They rent a big mansion there. The only difference is this: they went on their honeymoon with 32 football players, and they live with them on their honeymoon, and they actually practice out on the front lawn of this mansion. And they had this famous scene that was quoted by people in different books, and she was very romantic. And she said, Bert, I love the sun, the stars, this is the great night. And he turns to her, waiting for him to say, oh, I love you, darling. He said, Frances, if I only had a punter. And she looked at him and said, this is what I'm getting into?
Yeah.
So that's how the Eagles were formed.
Burt would eventually rise from team owner of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers to become among the NFL's most influential commissioners.
For 60 or 70,000 people to do this for the Green Bay Packers and the city of Green Bay, it certainly should set an example.
Many football purists and current lords of the game agree. Commissioner Burt Bell's modernistic approach to this sport so long ago literally saved the game from self-destructing.
Are you spurning me for another dame, are ya?
But there was also a woman who saved Burt from himself.
Buffalo fans aren't happy. Inches to go, second down. Songen on a sneak, and he scores, making it 13 for the Patriots.
And what has now become a $10 billion a year Sunday afternoon cultural event can, in part, trace its humble roots nearly 100 years ago to a miracle on 34th Street. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnd.
ACMi News has produced a multi-part series on the Bell family, which you can see in its entirety on our website, acmi.tv. Again, that's acmi.tv.
This series can also be found in the Upton Bell wing of the University of Massachusetts Amherst. It's worth a trip to see all the artifacts up there related to the infancy of NFL football. And we thank Upton for allowing us to tell his amazing story. That'll do it for this week's edition of ACMi News. Do you want to see how we put the newscast together here in Arlington?
Just stop by and pay us a visit at 85 Park Ave on Thursday afternoons between 3 and 5. And if you have any news tips for us, stay tuned. In just a few seconds, you'll find out how to contact us.
Meantime, hope to see you on Town Day. Thanks as always for joining us. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm James Milan. We want you to have a great week, and we also want to end with a few words for our, he's indescribable, but Jeff Barnd, our news director for these last 6 years, or much of them, is going to be heading south to Brazil, as he probably announced last week. On behalf of all of us here, with incredible gratitude, we just want to say, boa viagem e boa sorte. Good, safe travels and good luck.
And I echo what James said, except I don't speak any Portuguese, but Jeff Barnd has been a news director extraordinaire, and we're going to miss him sorely here at ACMi. So thank you for everything, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. And thank you. We'll see you next time.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMi Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.